Kindly take their seats. Good afternoon. The devotional today will be led by Reverend Aaron Clark of Crossroads Christian Church in East Montpelier.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me all right? Good to see you. So I want to start with a story, something that recently happened to me. I was at J. Morgan's. This is unfortunately after the flood. And I was there eating some food, eating some high quality steak. And I overheard a conversation happening between a legislator and a lobbyist. The lobbyist was a lawyer type. I didn't mean to eavesdrop. They were just right there, you know. And all of a sudden, some commotion happens. I turn around. This lobbyist grabs the legislator by the tie, brings him in, knocks over a glass of wine, goes all over them. And he whispers something that I just happened to hear. I could hear, even though it was through gritted teeth. He said, "What moral precepts drive your legislative agenda?" You know who that legislator was? Well, you'll forgive me for making up the story. I only have 2 to 3 minutes to connect with you guys, so I got to find some way. It's a miracle. But I will say it is connected to what I want to tell you today, because something similar happened to Jesus of Nazareth, actually, about 2,000 years ago. His religious enemies, the Pharisees, sent a lobbyist type, a lawyer, to go and ask him a question. And you know what they asked him? They said, "Teacher, what is the greatest commandment?" Which is a little bit like asking, what is the greatest moral precept? What moral precept drives your life, Jesus, and drives your legislative agenda, your law? How would you have answered that question? How would you answer that question if your constituents asked you, or your friends asked you, right? Or your enemies even, not that we have any here, right? But how would you answer that question? But more importantly, how did Jesus answer that question? You know, it's funny, I ask people that, and they always answer, they say, well, I think Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself, right? Right? Well, actually, it's a little bit different than that. He actually started this way. He said, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, with all your might. This is the first and greatest commandment. And the second is like it. You shall love your neighbor as yourself. Notice what drove Jesus' life and his law, his legislative agenda, shall we say, was a love for God. In fact, in the Last Supper, before he was betrayed and went to the cross, he said, "I do as the Father has commanded me, so that the world may know that I love the Father." He loved his Father, God, so much that he was willing to obey him, even to the point of death, even to go to the cross to die for sinners like me and you, to die for people who fall short of that law, who don't love God with our whole being, and who don't love our neighbor as we often should. He died for us to give us forgiveness of these sins, to grant us repentance of these sins, and not only that, but to give us power that we never could have had so that we may do these things, love God, love our neighbor, that we never could have in our own strength or capacity. So that's what Jesus would have said, moral precept that drove his life, his legislative agenda. And I want to say a little encouragement for you. May the Lord order your heart to love the Lord your God and to love your neighbor. May that drive your life and your legislative agenda. Think about that question. What drives your life and legislative agenda? Thank you so much for having me. May God bless you.
Thank you, Reverend. Members, we have a Senate bill for referral today. Senate Bill 131 is an act relating to approval of an amendment to the Charter of the City of Burlington relating to the possession of firearms, introduced by Senator Baruth. Please listen to the first reading of the bill.
S-131, an act relating to approval of an amendment to the Charter of the City of Burlington relating to the possession of firearms.
Now the bill's been read the first time and is referred to the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs. We have a bill on the notice calendar requiring referral to a money committee pursuant to House Rule 35A. Senate Bill 117 is an act relating to rulemaking on safety and health standards and technical corrections on employment practices and unemployment compensation. Affecting the revenue of the state, the bill is referred to the Committee on Ways and Means. Members, earlier today, the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs reported favorably on Senate Bill 56, which is an act relating to creating an Office of New Americans. Carrying an appropriation, the bill is referred to the Committee on Appropriations pursuant to House Rule 35A, pending its entry on the notice calendar. We now have a joint Senate resolution to take up at this time. JRS 24 is a joint resolution relating to weekend adjournment on May 2nd, 2025. It was offered by Senator Baruth and was read and adopted on the part of the Senate. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that when the two houses adjourn on Friday, May 2nd, 2025, it be to meet again no later than Tuesday, May 6th, 2025.
Now you've heard the reading of the resolution, and the question is, shall the House adopt the resolution in concurrence? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and the resolution is adopted in concurrence. Members, we have received requests to read two House concurrent resolutions that the House and Senate adopted pursuant to the consent calendar. The first is HCR 113, which is a House concurrent resolution congratulating the winning teams at the 2025 Junior Iron Chef Vermont competition. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas Vermont After School, the proud sponsor of the Junior Iron Chef Vermont cooking competition, describes the event as being one in which youth from across the state are brought together to stand side by side in an orchestrated frenzy, dicing, grating, and sautéing their way to culinary fame. And whereas on March 29th, 2025, the 17th rendition of this unusual cooking extravaganza, which encourages student chefs to create locally sourced meals that promote Vermont's Farm to School program, was convened at the Champlain Valley Exposition in Essex Junction. And whereas the popularity of this career exploration initiative is reflected in the more than 5,000 Vermont middle and high school students who since 2008 have enthusiastically maximized their cooking skills and ingenuity as members of 1,000 participating teams. And whereas the teams compete for 3 awards, Lively Local honoring the team that best highlights Vermont foods, Mise en Place honoring the team that shows exemplary teamwork, order, and professionalism, and Crowd Pleaser honoring the team that best incorporates color, texture, and taste. And whereas the competition categories, the winning middle and high schools, their team names, and their culinary creations were as follows: Lively Local, Camelsup Middle School, Space Girls, Soy glazed tofu and veggie taco with sun butter sauce, Twin Valley Middle School, Cauliflower Crusaders, Bodacious Buffalo Cauliflower Tacos, and Champlain Valley Union High School, Chef Hawks, Brown Butter Shiitake Mushroom Rice Bowl. Mise en Place, Winooski Middle School, Winooski Wild Onions, Korean Fried Chicken of the Wood, Hunt Middle School, Experts, Green Goddess Deviled Eggs, and Lake Champlain Water School, Steam Dream Team, Mushroom Cabbage Dumplings. And Crowd Pleaser, Boys and Girls Club of Burlington, Los Amigos, 3 pepper quesadilla with charred corn and black bean salsa, Virgin's Union Middle School, Jalapeno Hotties, blackened tofu with mushrooms, shallots, peppers, and grits, and Champlain Valley Union High School, Spice Girls, tikka masala with spice naan. Now therefore be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly congratulates the winning teams at the 2025 Junior Iron Chef Vermont competition. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to each of the winning teams and to Vermont After School.
Next is HCR 116, which is a House concurrent resolution commemorating the 50th anniversary of the conclusion of the Vietnam War. Please listen to the reading of the resolution.
Whereas the U.S. military engagement in Vietnam began in 1950, when on the advice of his National Security Council, President Truman authorized military aid for French armed forces battling in Indochina. And in July 1959, 2 American military advisors were killed in a guerrilla attack. And whereas as the challenges for South Vietnamese government increased, the American military advisory presence expanded. And whereas in August 1964, while stationed off the Vietnamese coast in the Gulf of Tonkin, the American destroyer USS Maddox sustained damage from North Vietnamese fire, and in response, Congress adopted the Gulf of Tonkin Resolution, increasing President Johnson's authority to engage militarily in Vietnam. And whereas in March 1965, the first American combat troops arrived at Da Nang, South Vietnam, and during the following years, American forces fought bravely and at great peril. And according to 2021 data of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, 58,281 U.S. military personnel, including 100 Vermonters, died in combat or non-combat situations during the Vietnam War, while over 300,000 American soldiers were wounded. And whereas although a ceasefire agreement was signed in January 1973, and the last U.S. ground troops withdrew from the country in March 1973, the Vietnam War continued until April 30th, 1975, when North Vietnam captured the South Vietnamese capital, then known as Saigon, and the conflict concluded. And whereas Vietnam War veterans served their country heroically, and many continue to face physical and mental health challenges due to their military service. And whereas today, April 30th, 2025, marks the 50th anniversary of the conclusion of the Vietnam War. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the Senate and House of Representatives that the General Assembly commemorates the 50th anniversary of the conclusion of the Vietnam War. And be it further resolved that the Secretary of State be directed to send a copy of this resolution to the Vermont State Council of the Vietnam Veterans of America, the American Legion Department of Vermont, and the Veterans of Foreign Wars Department of Vermont.
Are there any announcements? Member from Whitingham.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. We just heard a resolution honoring this year's Junior Iron Chef winners. It is my honor to introduce some of the talented winning teams of this year's competition. This event celebrates the skills and culinary creativity of Vermont's young people. And with us here today and watching online are the Camel's Hump Middle School Spice Girls, the Twin Valley Middle School, my personal district, Cauliflower Crusaders, the Champaign Valley Union High School Chef Hawks, the Winooski Middle School Winooski Wild Onions, the Hunt Middle School Experts, and the Lake Champlain Waldorf School STEAM Dream Team, and the Boys and Girls Club of Burlington, the Los Amigos, and the Virgins Union High School Jalapeno Hotties. And last but certainly not least are the Champlain Valley High School Spice Girls. These teams gave into the hard work of a hot kitchen. They honed their knife skills and found the balance between sour, sweet, salty, and fat to create delectable delights that inspire the taste buds and show their passion and love and dedication for culinary excellence. Joining them today in the balcony is organizer Carrie Mathis of Vermont After School. Please join me in congratulating them and welcoming them to the People's House.
Will the guest of the member from Whitingham please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Milton.
Madam Speaker, on this somber yet significant anniversary of the fall of Saigon, we remember the 50th year since the end of the Vietnam War. The complex history involved made this a very unique conflict. We remember the men and women who served and the lasting scars on both nations. On this day, April 30th, 2025, we stand in remembrance of the day the Vietnam War officially ended with the fall of Saigon. This event marked the end of a long and arduous conflict, one that profoundly shaped the landscape of global politics and left an indelible mark on the lives of countless individuals. It's important to acknowledge the complex history of this war, from its origins in the Cold War through the escalating involvement of the United States to the eventual withdrawal and its aftermath. The Vietnam War was a deeply divisive and controversial period. We must remember the sacrifices made by all who served both on the American and Vietnamese sides. This anniversary also provides an opportunity to reflect on the lasting impact of the Vietnam War. We must remember our veterans who continue to suffer from the physical and psychological scars of the war. Having an uncle that flew roughly a year's worth of combat missions in Vietnam, I can remember the way they were treated upon their return from war versus the way my generation was treated. It was starkly different, and I feel for that lack of support and showing of respect that these Vietnam veterans generally did not receive. One could say they never got their day. Pardon me. In closing, let us remember those who lost their lives, those who were wounded, and those who were forever changed by this conflict. Let us honor their sacrifices and learn from the lessons of the past so that we may strive for a more peaceful and just future. Let us continue to remember to learn and to heal as we commemorate the 50th anniversary of the end of the Vietnam War. Madam Speaker, we have with us today representing our Vietnam veterans, 3 members of the Vermont State Council of Vietnam Vets of America. We have with us Perry Melvin, the Vermont State Council President from Shelburne, Lawrence Gold with his wife Irene, who's Chapter Vice President, First in the Nation, Chapter 001 from Middlebury, Stephen Bennett, Chapter President of 601 Bennington, and Richard Reed, Vice President of the State Council from Leicester. Madam Speaker, would you help me recognize these silent, unsung heroes? They are seated behind me in the gallery.
Will the guest of the member from Milton please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Fairfax.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I move to have the remarks of the member from Milton journalized.
The member from Fairfax moves that we journalize the remarks of the member from Milton. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have journalized the remarks of the member from Milton. Are there any further announcements? Member from Barry City.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. In this body, we debate in committee, we debate on the floor, we all fight for our own issues, but we all know that the buck stops in the Speaker's office. And today, we have a very historic day as the Chief of Staff is celebrating a birthday. And so I would ask the chamber to say happy birthday to the 151st member of this body.
Happy birthday, Connor. Member from Chittenden.
Madam Speaker, it's not often that I'm upended, but I just was. So I'm going to change this a little bit, if you bear with me. Madam Speaker, I do not rise to interrogate the chair by asking a silly joke or riddle, of which it's impossible to answer. I do not rise to share some make-believe story with a supposed name to change or protect the innocent. Instead, Madam Speaker, I rise to share a true story today. The year was 2022, and the annual March Madness Games were underway. It quickly became a contest between the chiefs of staff. The chief of staff for the pro tem, the chief of staff for the attorney general, and the chief of staff for the speaker. Every week, the battle played out while the rest of us watched from the sidelines. This chief of staff moves ahead, then that one or the other. Got kind of boring after a while, but well, in the end, unfortunately, Connor, again, not his real name, fell from glory, and the Attorney General's chief of staff won the championship. That win helped Chief of Staff Charity, again, not a real name, launch her campaign to become our Attorney General later that year with the slogan, "I am a winner." Meanwhile, Connor continued his service to you, Madam Speaker, and all members of the House. And we are thankful for that, Madam Speaker, on this very special day, as was previously mentioned. We are all winners with this service to the entire body. And again, please join me in wishing your Chief of Staff and former leader board member from many years ago a very happy birthday. Thank you.
Member from Fairhaven.
Madam Speaker, the member from London who happens to serve on the Ways and Means Committee is celebrating a birthday today. Could you please recognize her?
Happy birthday, member. Member from Westminster.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise to recognize Farm to School and Early Childhood who have been tabling in the card room today. Outside of my role in the State House, I work with students learning about local food and the food system, so this issue is close to my heart. Farm to School programs connect students with curriculum, the cafeteria, and their communities through relationships with local foods and farmers. Farm to School programs also open up new, stable institutional markets for Vermont farmers. Please welcome advocates from the network to the State House. They are seated in the balcony.
Will the guest, the member from Westminster, please rise and be recognized? Member from Ferrisburg.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to introduce to the body today the devotional speaker that we had this afternoon. Pastor Aaron Clark is a pastor at Crossroads Christian Church here in East Montpelier. He leads the legislators' Bible study right up there at the balcony, just outside the balcony at the top right, every Wednesday at 12:15 during lunchtime, and you are welcome to join us. He has 3 children, 2 girls and 1 brand new baby boy, was 2 weeks old, I think. He's married to his wife Jenna, and they live right here in Montpelier. Please help me welcome Pastor Aaron Clark.
Will the guest, the member from Ferrisburg, please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Member from Morristown.
Madam Speaker, today I have a very important guest with me. Here by way of Colorado, this brilliant young woman was tasked with the very challenging task of being my intern, which is a lot to encompass because I'm high energy, attention to detail, and all the things. but she managed and navigated well. She's helped me with constituent newsletters, responses, managing my social media, sitting in on other committees and taking notes, doing research, and being my eyes and ears around the building. She was part of last summer's Education Research Committee and hopes to have a future in research or as a policy analyst, and hopes to attend law school. I really, really want to wish this young person well. She's a senior at UVM. Her hobbies are skiing, volleyball, and reading. And after this very challenging semester and session, she is very much looking forward to going home and spending time with her family. Madam Speaker, will you please help me wish Leilani Caruso a very congratulations on her graduation, the best on her future endeavors, and welcome to the State House.
Will the guest member from Morristown please rise and be recognized? Member from Jericho.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Today we are joined by the Consul General, by Consul General Takahashi from Japan, from the Japan Consulate in Boston. He's accompanied by Yuki Asami, the Consul for Economic Affairs, and they are here to celebrate and propagate Japanese relationships with Vermont, as well as to celebrate the sister state relationship that we've had with the Tottori province since 2018. They are joined by Tim Tierney and Peter Lynch in the balcony, and if you would please help me welcome them to the State House.
Will the guest of the member from Jericho please rise and be recognized? Are there any further announcements? Seeing none, orders of the day. Members, we will begin with House Bill 463, which is an act relating to technical corrections for the 2025 legislative session. The bill passed the Senate with a proposal of amendment that is printed in today's calendar. Member from Burlington.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Members will remember the technical corrections bill for the 2025 legislative session. We passed it unanimously, 110 pages of committee work, argent study. The Senate took it up and found one correction that we had missed. On page 5 of the bill, you will note that the word "thereto" was removed in the original bill. The Senate wants to put a 2 back in. By a vote of 603, your House Government Operations and Military Affairs Committee recommends we concur with the Senate's proposal amendment.
The question is, shall the House concur in the Senate proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it, the ayes do have it, and you have concurred in the Senate proposal of amendment. Now we'll turn to Senate Bill 50, which is an act relating to increasing the size of solar net metering projects that qualify for expedited registration. Prior to third reading, the member from Chittenden, Representative Harrison, and the member from Poultney, Representative McCoy, offer an amendment that is printed in today's calendar. Member from Chittenden.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. The amendment to S50 can be found on page 1741 of today's calendar. Earlier today, I met with the House Committee on Energy and Digital Transformation, and I want to thank them for listening to the proposed amendment. As many of you will remember, last year, this body passed the Renewable Energy Standard, which I believe was in terms of Bill H-289. That legislation will increase the cost of electric rates for Vermont consumers. This bill attempts to make some changes and keeping the goals of clean energy and reducing greenhouse gas emissions in mind. The Joint Fiscal Office last session, at the conclusion of the renewable energy standard, estimated the cost, additional cost to ratepayers would be a minimum of $150 million to as much as $450 million over 10 years. The corresponding percentage increase could ultimately go from 2% over and above to 6.7% over and above. Meanwhile, the Public Service Department had shared some estimates of much more than the $450 million. One of the strongest concerns that many of us heard last summer and last fall as we were campaigning was about affordability. This amendment, which is largely taken from a bill introduced earlier this session, H287, which was presented to the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure earlier, attempts to take some of those pieces and attempts to lower the overall impact, again, by changing some sections of the bill where we're talking about renewable energy standard to a clean energy standard. Sources of power such as nuclear, which currently are 16 to 18% of our demand right now, would be clean energy and continue to be allowed if we so choose. It makes changes to distribution allowances if new local power sources were going to incur an additional transmission cost. It would allow the utility to petition the Public Utilities Commission to get relief from those new projects if they were going to, the benefit was going to be outweighed by the additional costs of the transmission lines to bring that in. There are several other changes in the amendment which we think with the credits will allow us to lower last year's impact on our costs of all our ratepayers and yet maintain clean energy for all of us. Madam Speaker, at this time, I ask for leave of the House to withdraw the amendment.
Absent objection, leave is granted. Please listen to the third reading of the bill.
S50, an act relating to increasing the size of solar net metering projects that qualify for expedited registration.
The question is, shall the bill pass in concurrence with proposal of amendment? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it, and you have passed the bill in concurrence with proposal of amendment. Members, the final bill on our action calendar today is House Bill 505, which is an act relating to approval of amendments to the Charter of the Town of Barry. The bill was referred to the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs, which recommends that the bill ought to pass. The member from Dorset, Representative Pisano, will speak for the committee. Please listen to the second reading of the bill.
H505, an act relating to approval of amendments to the Charter of the Town of Barry.
Member from Dorset.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. H505, an act relating to approval of amendments to the Charter of the Town of Barry. The purpose of the bill as introduced is to approve the amendments of the charter for the town of Barry to repeal the office of auditor. Section 1, the General Assembly approved the amendments as set forth on May 14th, 2024. In Chapter 101, Town of Barry, Section 2, Chapter 101 is amended to read, subsection 10, elected officers in general. The subcategory A, the following officers shall be elected by legal voters of the Town of Barry, and voting for the officers shall be by Australian ballot. Number 2, 3 auditors is repealed. Number 3, 1 clerk, and 4, 1 moderator. Subcategory A2, 3 auditors is repealed. Subcategory F, entire section of auditors is repealed. Subsection 39, compensation and fees. Subcategory A2, 3 auditors is repealed. Subcategory AD, grammatical changes were made. Section 3 is repealed. Chapter 101, subsection 12, the Town of Barry auditors is repealed. Section 4, effective date, this act shall take effect on passage. Madam Speaker, the Committee on Government Operations and Military Affairs heard testimony from Legislative Counsel, Office of Legislative Counsel, sponsors of the bill from Town of Barry, and the Town Manager from Barry Town. With a committee vote of 902 for approval, we ask the House to support this charter amendment for the Town of Barry.
The question is, shall the bill be read a third time? Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do have it. And third reading is ordered. Members, that completes the orders of the day. Are there any announcements? Member from Waitsfield.
Madam Speaker, I just wanted to share that regarding former Representative Carrie Dolan, there is a calendar for bringing meals over to the family, and I am planning on going over this Friday to deliver a meal. So if there are any members who wanted to send a card and hadn't had a chance to, I'd be happy to bring that with me. Just get it to me before or by noon on Friday. And if there are any members who were lunch or dinner buddies of Carrie's and know of a great place in town where I might pick up a vegan, vegetarian meal as opposed to staying up late one night this week and making soup, I would welcome suggestions. Thank you.
Member from Burlington.
Madam Speaker, I apologize to you and the body. When I read my floor report, I said the vote was 603. It was actually 803. My handwriting gets worse as I get older.
Are there any further announcements? Seeing none. Member from Poultney, can you please offer us a motion to adjourn until Thursday, May 1st at 1 p.m.?
Madam Speaker, I make a motion this body stand in adjournment until Thursday, May 1, 2025 at 1 p.m.
You have heard the motion. Are you ready for the question? If so, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, please say nay. The ayes appear to have it. The ayes do